So I'm probably going to have to go back and re-upload my previous videos. So this is kind of going to show up as my first video, even though the other videos were filmed before it. But I just watched, I didn't watch the whole thing actually. I watched a minute or two of a video from an older gentleman talking about the concept of a no niche YouTube channel, which I guess that's what I was already doing, so I'm gonna continue doing that. I think the content is just about sharing what I have learned from my life experience, which I'm not saying I'm a wise old man, but I know a thing or two. I've learned some hard lessons. Maybe I can pass those lessons on to some younger folks, so y'all don't have to learn the hard way. Maybe. I figure it's worth a try. Anyways, yeah, I haven't recorded anything in a few days. I'm kind of running out of space on my phone. This is an older phone. It's almost 5 years old. It's a Note 20 Ultra. I've been looking at getting a newer phone, but I'm trying to pay down some debts before I make a big purchase. Making good progress at these debts, but it takes time. And I guess I could talk about debt snowballs. That's an area that interests me. I've struggled with spending my whole life, impulsive spending, and as you get older, get more established, increase your income over the years, you get access to more and more credit, and it's very tempting to use that credit as though it were money. But available balance on a credit card is not money. It can act like money when you're spending it. You can buy things with credit cards, obviously, but then you got to pay that back. And if you don't have the amount you spent just sitting in your checking account, and it's not slated for paying off that debt because you have other bills to pay or other purchases that you need to make with the cash in your checking account, then your credit card balance is going to sit there and accrue interest while you're making small payments towards it. Or even if you divide it into a few big payments, like, say you spend $1,000 and you can afford to pay $400 every month towards it, you're still going to incur some interest. So ideally, if you're going to use credit cards, you got to make sure you have enough money available to pay the whole thing off in one whack. You want to save up $1,000 in your savings account. And some people would tell you, just spend the $1,000 cash. And there's certainly something to be said for that. There are some folks that never use credit and swear that's the only way to do things. But there's also advantages to using credit cards. So back to the example real quick. Spend the money on the credit card. Wait 2 weeks, wait 3 weeks, pay the whole thing off. For most credit cards, if you don't let the billing cycle complete, you're not going to incur any interest. If you wait until the billing cycle completes, then they're gonna stack that interest on there, and it becomes a part of the balance and also starts accruing interest. That's called compounding. You probably have heard that term before. If not, I'll probably end up talking about it some more at some point. Personal finance is an area of interest for me. So coming back to the whole credit card thing, there's advantages to using credit cards. A lot of credit cards come with rewards. You can get cash back, or you can get, travel miles. And if you're diligent with paying your balance off before it accrues interest, then you can actually come out ahead with cash back, or like I said, some travel miles, or various other things. I don't know. I always go for the cash back ones. I have a travel miles card, and I don't ever use the miles. I don't even know how to use the miles. Cash back's pretty straightforward. You either apply it to your balance, or some cards will send you a check for it. So, like I said, you manage that balance correctly, keep your card paid off. You can actually get a check in the mail every now and again for using a credit card. That's pretty smart. Dave Ramsey would tell you otherwise, but if you've got discipline, you can make money with a credit card. It's not a ton. It's usually like 1.5%, sometimes as high as 5%. If you make purchases in, certain types of stores, certain brand name stores, that sort of thing, on some cards. Discover does a 5% thing that's different each quarter. You got to activate it, and then you got to spend in the right places, and you can get, I think, like $75 a quarter back. That stacks up, I try to avoid cards that have annual fees. Some people will say it's worth the annual fee. I tend to disagree. I don't like annual fees. I guess, like I said, again, if you're disciplined enough to plan for that annual fee and pay it off each year as soon as it hits, or before the cycle starts over, maybe an annual fee is not so bad. They're usually like $100 or something. But, and this is where I'm at, if you're not so disciplined, you get ahead of yourself with your spending. Your spending on a credit card outpaces what you have available in cash to pay off, and it's real easy to do a spending spree without even really realizing you're doing it. Oh, I need this. I'll pay a third of it this month, and I'll pay it off next month. I'll have that available. But then, no, wait, I need something else now, and so that balance grows, and maybe you still make that big payment that you plan to make, but it ain't enough to cover the whole balance. So you still got interest accruing into that next cycle, and then lo and behold, something else comes up that you need, or hell, even something you want, and that's how they get you. You get caught up in that spending and then paying for your spending cycle. And again, if you control your spending such that you can always pay for it before the end of the cycle, no big deal, can even benefit you. If you don't control your spending such that you can't pay it all off before the end of the cycle, then it'll get out of hand. And this isn't the first time I've been in this situation in my adult life. I'm fortunate now to be in a position where I'm making pretty good progress, faster progress to getting things paid off than I ever have been able to when I was in this position in the past, but it's still slow going. And I guess here's where I introduce the snowball method. If you're getting into debt elimination, rapid debt payoff type stuff, you're going to hear about snowballs. And what the snowball method is, and there's a number of different ways to approach it. The traditional snowball you start with the lowest balance that you owe. You get that paid off as quickly as you can, throw big payments at it, and everything else, the larger balances, you make the minimum payment on. Once you get that lowest balance paid off, then you take the money you were paying towards that and you add that on to the minimum payment of the next smallest balance. And you keep doing this, once that next small balance gets paid off, then you take that original large payment that you eliminated that first debt with, that you added on to the minimum payment for that next balance. So you take those two, and that total you add on to the minimum payment of the next balance. And this is where that snowball name comes from. As you keep going, your snowball payment gets bigger and bigger. So as you go along, you're paying more and more to the next balance, and it chops it down quicker each time. As you eliminate a payment, as you eliminate a balance, then your payment gets bigger towards the next balance. And so that's the snowball method. Then there's other things like cash flow indexing, where you prioritize which debts to pay off based on how much impact they have on your available cash flow each month. That's kind of what I'm trying to do now. Some people will tell you it's the most effective method for eliminating debt. I think the idea behind the traditional snowball method is it's kind of the easiest. I don't really know. I don't really have an opinion on that. For me, I like the cash flow index method because it frees up cash flow quickly. And even though I'm trying to eliminate debt, I also like to go out to eat and I like to splurge on some stuff now and again. And it's hard to do that if all of your money is tied up in making debt payments. So, the cash flow index approach frees up cash flow every time you pay off a debt, so that you can apply that towards the next debt. But say you find a cool new watch or a pocket knife that you want to splurge on after you just paid off a debt, you got that cash flow available that you can reward yourself without throwing it back on a credit card and accruing more interest and driving that balance up. Again, requires a little bit of discipline. Fortunately, I have learned a little bit of discipline to be able to do things like that in my older age. I know there are people out there that are a lot more disciplined than I am, but I'm better than I used to be. And that's really the name of the game. Growing up as an adult, trying to advance in your life, try to be a little bit better than you were yesterday. Aim for 1%. And, if you get that 1% better than you were yesterday, that's success. If you get 2%, heck yeah, that's awesome. You really knocked it out of the park. But, so I'm trying to eliminate debts. It's better if you can just stay out of debt. Just keep your expenditures lower than your income, and put the rest in savings, and you'll be ahead of me. I have not done a good job of that in my entire adult life. And I mentioned savings. Go look at Affirm. I'm sure there's others. I'm personally fond of Affirm. You can plan some big purchases. I think it's better than a credit card in a lot of ways. That's how Affirm started out, at least for me. I think they only somewhat recently started doing a savings account also. Originally it was people call it a buy now, pay it later. You can call it a payment plan app, but it lets you split a purchase into a predetermined number of payments, and oftentimes you can split it into like 4 payments or 2 payments and get 0 interest, which that's pretty awesome. That beats the heck out of a credit card. You never get, used to be you could get low interest credit card offers, no interest on balance transfers. I haven't seen any of those in years. I don't know if other people get them. I sure as heck don't get them anymore. But Affirm, yeah, like I said, you can get 0 interest financing on there. Plus, having the payment predetermined for you lets you plan out when you're going to pay it off. And you can also still pay it off early if you want to. If it's 0% interest, there's an argument to be made for why pay it off early. You're using somebody else's money for free. I think that's what what the rich people would tell you is, if you can use somebody else's money for free or even for cheap, do that. Keep your own money. Use somebody else's. So Affirm, that's the finance purchase side. The savings currently sits at like 4.35%, I believe, which is pretty decent. Certainly better than what I get in my credit union savings account, like a fraction of 1%. I get pennies every month from my credit union savings account, whereas Affirm, I at least get a couple of dollars. At times I've had really big balances in my Affirm savings. I've gotten as much as $10 in monthly interest, which pretty dang good in this day and age if you can get your money to pay you. Of course, now we got to talk about inflation a little bit. Inflation means that your money is worth less than it was before, and there's a lot of different factors that drive inflation, but ultimately what inflation means is prices go up everywhere. You've seen that if you're paying any attention over the last few years. It's been happening for decades and decades, but within the last couple of years it's really accelerated. Groceries have tripled or even quadrupled in price. Gasoline, I don't see it as much. I've seen gas as high as it is now before, but more recently, about 4 years ago, gas prices were much lower than they are now. So there is a portion of that is attributable to inflation, but I'm not sure that gas prices are the best indicator of inflation. Groceries are a pretty good indicator that inflation has really accelerated within the last few years. And government spending is, in my opinion, the biggest driver of it. So, anyways, I'm about home now. I'm still just making these videos in my car while I'm driving, as I'm sure you can tell. But I think I'm going to stick with the no niche thing. Just talk about what's on my mind. I might try to pre-plan a certain topic or something sometimes, but for the most part, I'm just going to talk about what's on my mind. And this one today, like I said, this is probably going to show up as my first video because I accidentally uploaded all the other videos to my YouTube account that's associated with a my email through my employer, and I don't want that. I may not stay with the same employer forever, so I've still got the videos here on my phone. I'll re-upload them on whatever channel I end up going with. I've got a few different ones because I have multiple email accounts, but Anyways, this will look like my first, but it's not actually the first video I did. All right, well, I'm just kind of rambling now. I'm gonna go check the mail, and we'll see y'all next time.